Last month, I started a brand new experiment using only Apple's productivity tools. That is Reminders, Apple Notes, and Apple Calendar. And this week's episode is reporting to you what I've discovered about Apple Reminders. Now, some quick background. I have been a Todoist user for about 12 years, and I've used Evernote for 16 years. I know those tools inside out. Now, periodically, I have played around with Apple Notes and Reminders, and to be fair, Apple Calendar is actually my main calendar. But now I'm all in with Apple Reminders, and there have been a few quirks that have come up that I had probably taken for granted because of how Todoist does it. And I'm going to show you some of these fixes that I've come up with. Now, the first one is prioritizing your day. Now, Apple Reminders doesn't allow you to categorize your tasks as easily as Todoist does. Now, Todoist gives you a lot of options to be able to group certain types of tasks together. Apple Reminders doesn't do that in the same way, and really when you look at today's list, you're basically just looking at a list of tasks to do. Now, the problem here for most people is that when you have a long list of tasks in one single list, it can be overwhelming, and it also can mean that it's very difficult to pinpoint what are the most important tasks for the day. But there is a fix. When setting up the task, you need to click in the information area, go down to where it says priority, and pick low, medium, or high. So what I do with my most important task for the day is I will always pick high. Things that really should be done, so I think of this in terms of must do, should do, could do. So things that must be done, I'm going to give a high priority. Things that I should do, I'm going to give a medium priority. And things that, well, if I have time, I'll get round to doing it, I don't usually give a priority at all. There's no point in adding the low priority. Now, that's great because now I can go back into Reminders Today view, I can go to the list, and I can then choose show, organize, or should I say view by priority. And there it goes, it works. You get the top two, or the top, in my case, the top two most important tasks that are at the top, then the next important, and then the ones that are less important at the bottom. It's not as ideal, not as good as Todoist, but it does work, and you can actually just prioritize your tasks that way. All you need to do is when you're doing the daily planning, if you go into upcoming, you can then choose today, which it does, Reminders does organize very well, and then you can just add the priority. Now, I played around with the flagging, but that doesn't seem to work. I mean, it doesn't work in the view options. You can create smart filters with, or smart lists with the flags, but that's really all that flags will do. So I don't generally use flags unless it's something that I know I absolutely must do. Next up is quick entry. Now, I think in many ways I am being a little bit spoiled by Todoist in this one, because Todoist has a feature where you can actually set a universal keyboard shortcut. And what I mean by universal means that once you've set it up, it doesn't matter what application you are using. You can, on a laptop, this doesn't work on your mobile or iPad, and you can just invoke a keyboard shortcut and a little box will come up and you can add a task. Now, I've been using this for multiple years, so it's almost like muscle memory. Now, with Apple Reminders, you don't have that option. Now, there is a way to do this with shortcuts now, and if you go into shortcuts and you type reminder and then you write the task that you want to insert, you can then do it from there. But what you're doing is you're creating, I suppose, a temporary shortcut, and it's not smooth, and it can often take you to a different screen in the spotlight area, and it's just It's not clean, it's not tidy. It's very unlike Apple actually. It doesn't make it very easy. Now of course you can use Siri to quickly add a task, but sometimes if you're in a library or you're in a coffee shop, a cafe somewhere, it's a little bit more difficult just to say, Siri, add to my reminders or whatever, to my list. So this is something I think hopefully Apple will fix, and I know some of you power users out there will probably tell me that you can set up shortcuts for this, and I'm sure you can. That's something that I will be delving into over the coming weeks. However, on the mobile device, yes, no problem at all. You can actually set up a shortcut to add a task. I've set that up on my phone. It works superbly. But I'm doing a lot of my main focused work. I will likely do this from my iPad, not my phone. Sorry, my laptop, not my phone. And that's where I generally need that quick entry, because I'll have ideas while I'm writing something and I don't want to leave my writing screen. I want to just invoke a keyboard shortcut, bang, add the task, get it into my inbox. Yes, that's not quite as simple with reminders. My workaround for that in the moment is just to have reminders open on the other screen that I'm not writing on so I can add tasks. It's not clean, it's not great. Hopefully that's something that Apple will fix in the future. Overall though, Apple Reminders is doing a fantastic job. It does the job. Now, if you're a power user who's used to using things like Todoist or Things 3 or TickTick or something like that, and you want to move to Apple Reminders, I feel that you will probably get quite frustrated because of these little quirks that I would describe them that makes life a little less easy to use. But on the whole, Apple Reminders will do a great job, particularly if all you want is something that's going to give you a list of tasks that you can get on with and do the next day. But one thing that really surprises me about Apple Reminders, and this is something that somebody pointed out to me the other day, is that during the Steve Jobs era, they used to have pride in the amount of clicking you didn't need to do on a Mac compared to the amount of mouse actions you needed to do with Windows. Well, unfortunately, that has definitely gone now, because if you want to add information to reminders, you do need to click that I button and then you have to go down the different menus. It's quite time consuming, to be fair. Unlike, say, again, Todoist, and I am comparing Todoist because that's the one I use, where they will recognize the language that you're writing. So if I wrote something like, write this podcast script, I could set the date, which you can do in reminders. I can also set the priority by typing P1. And if I use the @ I can add the category. If I want to add a tag in reminders, I have to click the tagging item and add the tag from there. It's quite slow to get stuff in. And one of my premises for good, solid task managers is that the way to get stuff into it has to be seamless. It has to be super, super fast. But that's just my first update on Apple Reminders. I hope you found this useful. And if you are struggling with Apple Reminders and you're wondering, how do I get stuff into it quickly? Then you can use Spotlight. How can I organize my to-do list so it shows me the most important tasks at the top? You can do it the way that I've described by using the priorities. Now, of course, there is another way you can do this, which is create sections within reminders. And when you do your daily planning, you can move tasks into individual sections, which is probably the way that I am going to go forward, because I do like to see a clear separation between the tasks that I'm doing. Hope you found this useful. Thank you very much for watching the video. And if you want to learn more about this experiment that I'm doing until the end of December, then this video up here is definitely the one to watch next.